Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is your boy the Geek Takeover coming at you with another Daredevil Board Again Season 2 Episode 7 Raw Reaction Review. And, honestly, I don't know how I feel about this episode compared to the last 2 to 3 episodes. This felt very boring. Like, it had really good story elements, but it wasn't as exciting. We got a little bit more Jessica Jones scenes. I think the important thing to talk about with her is she had an interaction with Mr. Charles. He talks about how a little birdie has told him about her powers not working. He's seemingly basically telling her, like, I'm done with Fisk. Maybe I scratch your back now and you scratch my back by helping me get rid of him. That's kind of like how I took it. We got our first name drop of Luke. That was cool. Charles mentioned that he is currently overseas doing God's work. My first thing I thought about was, what if he's overseas with Danny, or what if he's overseas looking for Danny, or something along those lines. I'm assuming we will. Well, I'm not assuming. I figured we will find out in season 3 when he comes back to reprise his role. I mean, that's kind of really like it with Jessica. Again, I felt like it was, I mean, of course it's not her show, but it felt like for the hype, it hasn't lived up to the hype of bringing her back. Not saying I hate it. I love Christian. I think she's a great Jessica Jones. It just feels like the way it was promoted, I figured she would have a more important role, more prominent role. Speaking of supporting characters, Brett from the Netflix series comes back. He's working the 15th precinct where Karen is, which we'll get to her in a little bit. I think she probably was the best part of the episode. One of the best parts. I think in the Netflix series he mentioned something about going to the 15th precinct. I feel like I've heard that somewhere. So that was kind of cool to see him come back. I'm curious to see if he's going to be a more reoccurring character now as the seasons go. From Charles, let's jump to Bullseye. Matt has a moment where he frees Dex. He tells him, you want to do one good deed, I got something for you. Dex tells him, I don't know. I don't know if I'll do it. Ultimately, the good deed is Fisk wants to take out the governor because she wants to strip him of mayorship, and of course Charles thinks that Fisk is going to send somebody to kill him, rightfully so. As we fast forward in the episode, somebody pulls up to the house, tries to kill the governor. Dex, boom bam, Bob's your uncle. He's done, he's gone. I hope that's not the last we see of him. I kind of hope that he's going to be a part of the final big act fight with, I'm assuming, Fisk and the task force. I still hope that he's going to be recruited to the new Avengers. Fingers crossed. From Dex, let's jump to Fisk and Matt. No, let's just do Fisk. I mean, because he's still kind of going through his mourning phase. He's still going through wanting to tear everything down. I feel like as far as like processing Karen legally, so that way it really puts a lot of pressure on Matt, making a big spectacle of her arrest and her trial. He's doing all this to be calculated and put Matt's back to a corner. But Matt is smarter than that. He says, let me show up to the courthouse, surprise my return, and help defend Karen. And so far, I feel like it's going really, really well. Ultimately, I think the judges are on Fisk's side regardless, but because of the cameras, they're kind of airing out the dirty laundry about the task force and all the bad deeds that they do with Powell. And ultimately that leads to them getting drive-by'd in the parking garage. It was kind of cool. It was interesting that they were so broad to do it in their uniforms and no mask. Like, anybody could have seen them, and I wonder if that's going to take part in the next day at the court. So that kind of covers them. Now let's talk about what I think were the MVPs of this episode. Let's start with Heather and Karen. Now, they had one interaction where Karen's in the interrogation room and Heather is giving her the psych eval treatment, and they have a really good banter back and forth about Heather asking her questions for the test. Karen says, "I'm not doing this bullshit, but how about we talk about you? Let's talk about this." And they kind of go back and forth. Ultimately, we see Muse in the backdrop, and Heather kind of starts to turn, kind of beats the shit out of Karen. So I'm excited to see season 3. If you know, you know. Karen really showed up. She had a scene with Fisk. She had a scene with Heather, the courthouse. I think this is Deborah's best season of Daredevil. I never really liked her character. I said this before, but this season she's just so great. And I never thought I would say that because I'm not a Karen fan, but she's awesome. Daniel and BB. Daniel was having kind of like, do I not kind of internal battle of BB kind of fucked me, but do I really want to fuck her? And at first he is going to burn her. He tells Buck the address where they're going to be. He's going to take her there and he's going to sleep her with the fishes. But at the last second, Daniel tells BB, "Here's a phone. Don't tell me where you're going. Just fucking leave." She does. And Daniel has to pay the piper. He tells Buck, "I don't know where she is," which he was being honest. Buck beats the shit out of him. And basically the last scene of the episode is Buck has a gun pointed at a beaten, broken Daniel. And Daniel tells him, before it's you on the ground with the gun pointed at your head? And Buck is like, he's sitting there and he's hesitating. And I love these characters so much because these actors show such a wide range of emotion in their faces and the way that they give off the performance. Buck is just looking at Daniel. He's hesitating. He doesn't know if he wants to pull the trigger. Ultimately, he does. We do see blood splatter, so we actually know it does hit him. My Delulu self is thinking, oh, what if he shot him in the shoulder and Daniel just passed out? But, let's just keep it a buck. He shot him in the head. Daniel is dead. Buck starts to leave. The last shot of the episode is him turning around and looking at Daniel's body. But he turns around to look, but we don't see the body. Now, I believe one of two things will happen with this. Again, Delulu is where he shot him wasn't a fatal shot, and he decides to help Daniel. Daniel recovers, and he has a redemption arc. Him and Buck. My other logical reasoning is Daniel gave BB a phone and said to contact me when you're safe, I think. I don't remember the exact line, but I know he gave her a phone. So maybe Buck takes something off of his body to try and find BB. I don't know. There's not really a lot to talk about with this episode. I think it's probably one of the great storytelling, but just such a weak episode. I think I have to give it a 3 out of 5. It didn't really land for me. Next week's the finale. Based off some of the photos Mike Coulter's did, we have some inkling on how it's going to end. With the set photos we have for season 3, we know a couple of things, but how do we get there? I don't know, but I really hope the finale is going to stick the landing, and then after that we have Punisher, and maybe branches will be connected. Who knows? But let me know what you guys think about the episode. Go ahead and drop your ratings in the